Where are you from originally? I can't place
From
your
London.
accent.
London, North London.
Which part?
Highgate.
Highgate. I'm from Ilford.
Ah, okay. It's not far away.
And how old were you when you first started travelling? Have you always been a teacher?
No. After university, I played a lot of music at university, and after university, I joined a band in London playing sort of country and western. A bit sort of like at the same time the Pogues were getting going in London.
Great band.
We played with the Pogues a few times.
You played with the Pogues?
Yeah. Because one of the guys I was in the band with was quite good friends of Shane McGowan, so we supported them.
Did you socialise with them?
No, actually joking.
They were a bit extreme.
Yeah, first time I ever met them was
Did they scare
we
you?
went into their dressing room, and there was the biggest bottle of vodka I've ever seen in my life.
Intravenously.
On the set, Shane was like, you couldn't understand a word he said. He was out of it all the time. They were actually very nice people. They were very friendly, but no, we didn't socialise. So I played in a band for about 2 years, but the Pogues were very successful, and we didn't really ever get anywhere. We released one record.
Where did you go to university then?
Where?
In London? Did
No.
you
I went to Oxford University.
to Oxford?
So I was in a band for a while. Then after that, I sort of worked in a catering company for a while. I wrote a book, a history book, and sort of messed around. And so I didn't actually start teaching till I was about 27, I think, when I did a cert course. And
Is that when the travelling started?
no, the original idea was I was going to go to Greece. I really fancied going to live in Greece. So I did the cert course in order to have something to do when I got to Greece. The place that I did the cert course, they offered me a job. It was supposed to be just for a month because they had a load of Japanese students coming in and they needed someone, a couple of extra teachers. But I ended up staying there for a year, which was quite good because it was quite a good way to sort of get the first bit of experience.
Did you learn Greek?
No, I didn't go to Greece.
Oh, okay.
I stayed in London, and then after about a year, originally I was going to go to France. I couldn't get a job in France, so I went back to London, stayed in London, and then I thought, this is stupid. The whole idea was to go abroad, and this was like 1990, and of course, Berlin Wall had just sort of come down and stuff.
Everything was opening up.
So I thought, I'll go to Eastern Europe. So I went to Budapest.
It's been to Budapest and then Prague.
And then Prague, yeah.
What's been the most difficult thing about making a life here in Spain?
I don't know. I think in ways Spain's quite an easy place to. I don't know if you compare it to. I think if you compare it to Eastern Europe, the great thing in Eastern Europe was no one assumed that you'd be able to speak the language. So when you went there to work, you got lots and lots of help and lots of support because no one thought you were going to be able to speak Hungarian, or you were going to pick up enough Hungarian in a week to find a flat or to do any paperwork and get your residence permits. So you were looked after because you basically had to be. Whereas when you come to Spain, certainly our experience with the British Council was it was just assumed that you could speak Spanish. And in fact, neither my wife nor I could speak any Spanish at all. I'd only been to Spain, I think, once for like a weekend in Barcelona. But we were very much like, okay, you just got to look after yourself. That was the hardest thing, actually, is that being able to sort of settle in before you'd got any Spanish whatsoever and find a flat and do all of those things.
Patrick, what do you do with your free time? Do you still dabble in music?
No, I don't. I listen to a lot, but I mean, I do occasionally strum the guitar, but only very occasionally these days. What do we do? Play tennis, go cycling, but not sort of like seriously. Like sort of cycle to a bar.
Cycling with the family?
Yeah, to a bar, drink beer, cycle home again.
Wobble back.
Yeah. Read a lot. I suppose, yeah, in the evenings, I suppose we watch telly. We don't really watch Spanish telly. We watch sort of DVDs.
Same here.
Of sort of, American series and that sort of stuff, or films or what. The only time we watch Spanish telly is football, I think. Cook, like cooking. We're all vegetarians, so we do. Yeah, so therefore you have to basically do a lot of cooking.
Mm-hmm.
But we all like cooking, so yeah, that's the thing. And then just go for a walk, hang out, and that sort of stuff. Yeah.
So, what's the best thing about being a teacher? And what's the worst?
The best thing, for me, the best thing is the students. I like meeting the students and working with the students, and hopefully seeing them, get better and improve and develop. Though one of the frustrations of the job is actually that most students, once they get to about intermediate, sort of B1, the progress really does become
less obvious,
very, very slow, because you're not going to really make much progress on 3 hours a week. That's the great thing about teaching beginners. I love teaching beginners because beginners they learn. They in a year they can go from being able to say virtually nothing to be able to have a basic but simple conversation, which is great.
It's refreshing.
Yeah.
What's been your most memorable moment in the classroom?
I was trying to think about this. The first thing that would spring to mind, I can still remember doing my cert course, actually, a lesson that I had to teach on the cert course, and teaching, I had to teach so and such plus adjectives. And I remember it must have been something like the third lesson I did, so it was really sort of early days. And I can remember just thinking, I have no idea how to do this, and getting really sort of panicked about it, and then suddenly working out what I had to do, and going and teaching it, and it was like a successful lesson.
And it went well.
Yeah, and that was sort of the minute when I thought, actually, I really like doing this.
And you recently spoke in Seville at the Macmillan Teachers' Day.
Yeah.
Do you get many gigs like that? Do you enjoy them? Travelling and speaking?
I don't mind the speaking. I don't like the travelling. Is a bit of a drag because
takes you away from the family.
Yeah, but also it's just that it's very time consuming. To get to Seville, I went on the AVE and it took 5 hours or something to get there, and then you stay in a hotel. They put you in a nice hotel and they take you out for dinner, which is all quite nice. And then the next day, on the Saturday, you do your talk, and then you've got to come all the way back, and it's just you're away for about a day and a half to do a 1 hour 15-minute talk, which is it's okay. You don't thing is you don't get to see the places.
You don't have time to.
No, last year I went to A Coruña. And there was a problem with the flights. It took me 15 hours to get to A Coruña. I got there at 11 o'clock at night, went to bed, got up, did my talk, and then had to go straight back to the airport. So, I've been to A Coruña, but I haven't seen anything.
What advice would you give Spanish speakers who are trying to learn English?
I'd say, go to a course, have lessons, definitely. Teaching helps, but it's not the only thing that helps. You need to be prepared to do a lot of work outside of the classroom. Things like, watch films, maybe films, maybe it was too long to start with, but, watch, it's like, 15-minute comedy programs or 20-minute comedy programs. YouTube, yeah. Things where you can get subtitles to help you to start with.
Subtitles in English?
In English, yeah. Watch with the subtitles. Read. Find, maybe sort of something short little newspaper article or something on the internet.
Do you have a favourite online resource that you direct your students to?
To be honest, I don't. I don't really use online that much, apart from YouTube, really. So, I tend to sort of say, go and find something about this, or I'll find something and say, okay, everyone go home, watch this, we'll talk about it in the next lesson, sort of thing. In terms of sort of actual specific English language teaching resources, I don't know, I don't really use them probably as much as I should.
On the subject of the internet, how has technology affected the way you teach, and how has it affected the way your students learn? Perhaps your teachers? I
suspect it hasn't affected the way I teach very much, to be honest. I suppose, the thing is that I sort of tend to think that because teaching is still so much based around course books, and that for all the sort of...
Do you think that's as true now as it was when we started sort of 16, 20 years ago? Whatever?
I think it is, really. I mean, despite the fact that there's now a vast amount of authentic material available, I mean, certainly, I sort of think, certainly from the teachers that I work with, either in a centre like this or, I mean, I used to do a lot of work with Spanish state school teachers. They are, I would say everyone is basically still following a course book. And as I say, while there's all these sort of, technological add-ons that you can have now, I'm not sure that they've yet had a major effect on how people teach. I mean, the fact that you can now have the book on a screen,
right, and click for the audio.
Yeah, but in a way, it doesn't
really change
necessarily how you exploit the material. In a way, maybe it has an adverse effect because it becomes sort of too easy to sort of show off with the technology,
right?
And instead of thinking about actually, am I using this in the most sensible way?
Which famous person, dead or alive, would you like to have dinner with?
I don't know really. Let's think. Maybe Alexander the Great.
Why?
I studied Alexander the Great at university, and it was the bit of my course that I most enjoyed. It was called the special subject, and so it was the sort of subject you did in the greatest depth. And no, he's just a very interesting guy.
What would you ask him?
Well, the big question, if you're an Alexander fan, is because he invaded the Middle East, and basically, his army got as far as India. And the question has always been, why did he turn back? Because he got to India and then he turned back and he came back and went through what would now be Saudi Arabia and into Egypt, which is where he died. And the question's always been, why did he stop? Why didn't he just keep going? So that's what I'd ask him.
Okay. What's your idea of a perfect day?
Perfect day. Bit of a lie-in, probably. Nice weather, sunny weather like we have here. Lunch with family, friends, maybe sort of nice food like I like sort of Middle Eastern food, Lebanese food, Greek food, that sort of stuff. Some wine and sort of lazy afternoon. Maybe go for a walk. Evening, I don't know. Watch telly, watch film or something like that. Read a book. Yeah, nothing very exciting.
If you could change something about yourself, what would you change? I wish I was a bit more maybe entrepreneurial. I'm one of these people who I constantly have sort of ideas about things to do and stuff. But I hope you write them down.
I'm not very good at actually doing anything about them. I've written, as I say, sort of 2 novels, but never really sort of exploited them enough. I'm a bit lazy, really, I think.
If you had €6,000 to spend on yourself, what would you buy?
€6,000 just to spend on me.
Not your family, just you.
Well, having said that, I only ever play the guitar, which is true. There's one particular guitar I've always really wanted to have, which is a Gretsch guitar, which is American guitars. They're still made, I think, but they were very popular in the 60s.
Like acoustic or electric?
Semi-acoustic electrics. And they're just beautiful guitars, and they're fantastic sound.
Would that be enough for a Gretsch?
Yeah, you'd probably get a Gretsch for a couple of thousand, maybe. Mm-hmm. So maybe buy a sort of nice amplifier to go with it. Yeah, probably something like that. That's always, whenever someone says, what would you like for your birthday? I always say,
Gretsch, please.
Red Gretsch semi-acoustic guitar. Haven't got one, but anyway. But yeah, maybe something like that.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Shane was like, you couldn't understand a word he said, he was out of it all the time. I don't like, the travelling is a bit of a drag because I'm not very good at actually doing anything about them. The first thing that would spring to mind, I can